either, but you also without losing consistency and feeling like you're back to square one again come January the 1st. So we're going to cover in this presentation the impact of the stress on the festive season, that whole thing about you feeling like you're doing everything. It still is, unfortunately, generalization, but pretty much true that it's always the women head of the families who end up doing all the cooking, all the running around, probably all the present buying as well. Maybe not actually on this call, actually, come to think about it, but on the whole, time off from work, the awkwardness around visiting parents, friends and stuff in terms of food, and then that reward factor that we all get into after we worked really hard to finish up for the Christmas season and what that means. So firstly, we're talking about the stress of that juggle. So you're managing family responsibilities. For many of us at our age, that can be teens, grown-up kids, aging parents, that whole running between different people's houses, catering for all the different personalities, holiday hosting maybe, and the stress and fatigue that comes from that endless socializing. So what can you do about it? Well, there are some things you can do about it. So you don't feel like you are, that you just have to be um, bulldozed over in terms of it's festive season. I just have to put up with it, survive it until I get spat out the other side. You can do things. So what can you say no to? You know, we're often invited to so many different things and we feel like we've got to do it all because it's a festive season. We've got to make the most of it. And we don't always get to see family members or friends as much. So you one can tend to feel like you're saying yes to everything. I would, same with everything else uh, in the rest of the year, put it all in your diary. Sometimes it can be helpful to put it all in your diary and then put it into colours, and that can help emphasize. So, say you've got, I don't know, meeting a friend from 6 till 8, then you've got a kind of a work do, like, you know, that overlaps that, put that in a different colour, and that really helps you to see really clearly if there's overwhelm. And then maybe in the colours you put which ones are important colours, put them in a different colour to those things that actually you could easily reschedule that social occasion and do it after Christmas, actually when it's a bit gets a bit depressing and it's quite nice to, you know, spread things out. So plan it out. And then for that whole traveling around kind of thing, it's about getting those journey food packages in. So again, much the same as the day to day of maybe you're traveling somewhere for work. Same thing as if you're traveling to family for Christmas or friends. Get some food packages for the car. Don't wait until you're on the motorway, starving, hungry, halfway up, stuck in traffic, and then stop because you will end up going for something that's not as nutritious. So before you get in the car, go to your Pure, your Pret, your supermarkets, get your sushi, your edamame beans, your quinoa salads, that kind of stuff that will make you feel energized as well in the car, rather than giving you a kind of a rush of energy and then giving you a complete crash. So you arrive at your destination feeling absolutely awful, like you want to go to bed, not socialize. So, and also flasks of soup that you can take with you in the car. And then that whole festive burnout, you know, that running around after others. And I get this every time. I used to get this a lot before holidays. I still do a little bit. So I'm a work in progress too, about trying to get everything finished before the holidays in terms of your work or in terms of something you've got down in your calendar, and often means you feel like you're doing like double or triple the amount of work that you do normally. And so therefore your nutrition suffers because you're just trying to get it done. So it suffers before you even got to the festive period. And then you arrive feeling totally burnt out, and then you end up eating rubbish, because we all end up eating rubbish when we're really tired. So try and switch from that mindset of feeling like you've got to do it all. You don't have to do it all. You know, we're all old enough now to know that those things that don't get ticked off on a work list often get completely forgotten anyway. Or whoever it is that you've got to get that job done for doesn't look at it until after Christmas anyway, by which time the whole kind of assignment slightly changed anyway. So don't strive for perfection, I would say. Try those 3-minute power naps. So this really works for me, like literally lying down on the floor by your desk if you're at work or working from home. Close your eyes, breathe deeply for a count of 3 in, 3 out. Try and breathe through your nose. That kicks in that parasympathetic nervous system. And it is, I'm proof, quite possible to fall asleep for 3 minutes and wake up and feel totally refreshed. So give that a go. And then again, another mindset thing of switching from thinking about rewarding yourself with food that often sometimes is that comfort food and actually doesn't reward you, it makes you feel rubbish, to nourishing your body with the food that gives you the energy to thrive. Um, so if you can start thinking about trying to tune into the impact of certain foods on your energy levels and mood, and I mean this in terms of really that effect on your mood, not, oh, I feel guilty and I feel horrible for eating that. I'm not talking about guilt. I'm talking about actually that kind of food where you eat it and like you feel energized for like maybe 20 minutes and then the next hour you feel like you just need to lay your head on the desk or literally go to bed. So tune into that and start thinking about, do I really want that kind of that sandwich and that packet of crisps, or actually would a kind of really nice soup be a better choice? And then managing that, navigating those massive festive dinners. Normally they'll end up being two, aren't there? There's normally your Christmas dinner. Sometimes there's even a Christmas Eve one, and then there's the Boxing Day one as well. So thinking about your portion, not portion control, that's the wrong word. I need to change that. More about thinking about looking at your plate or your dish and trying to load it as much as possible with vegetables. So straight away, that's going to be a slow release carbohydrate. It's going to be really good for your gut, which will help offset the effects of the alcohol that you might have been having during the festive season, which affects your microbiome. It's going to give you fill you up for longer and give you a better energy release. We're all going to indulge. That's just part of Christmas, but maybe stick to one serving or two of indulgence on that day rather than thinking of, I'll have the cheese, then I'll have the Christmas pudding and brownie cream, then I'll have the mince pie, and then you'll have the chocolate afterwards. You know, we're all old enough to have done that in the past and know that makes you feel utterly rubbish. So before just doing it because you're in that kind of mindset of like, oh, that's what I do at Christmas, think about it. Think about, okay, which ones do I actually really like and I really want, and have those and not all of them. Yeah, as I've said here, you don't have to limit yourself to being controlled. You just have to be conscious and mindful. So, like choosing lean proteins like turkey or fish, which obviously at Christmas dinner is easier, and then swapping creamy sides for roasted or steamed vegetables. Um, when we're talking about roast, I've had this conversation before with potatoes, for instance. You don't actually need to roast them in oil. You could have roasted potatoes within their jackets. Carrots, you don't necessarily have to put them in lots of oil. So there are things like that. And if you're the one that's in control of having to do that cooking, why don't you just steam stuff? It actually takes far less time as well. And you can steam them and you're in control of that anyway. Being a bit kind of gender biased here, assuming that all women are going to cook. I know not all women are, hopefully not, but on the whole, that still is the case. And then really most of all is trying to think of that, try not to think of that all or nothing mentality. So that kind of thing of getting to Christmas and thinking, oh, I've just had that glass of wine, I've had those crisps now, I've had that mince pie. Oh, I'm just going to forget about it for the next week and just going to go all out and then I'll get back to it. So try not to think like that because actually it does make a difference. So if you think about it in this way, if you overindulge, so 500, overeating by 500 calories a day beyond what your body energy requirements are, results in 1 to 2 pounds gained every week. So 1 to 2 pounds, 500 calories a day over 7 days, 1 to 2 pounds a week. So say over Christmas period, you're probably looking at, if you break this down, 500 to 1,000 calories a day, potentially on Christmas Day. But if you keep repeating that, that's a lot. So thinking about, two Baileys, two glasses of small Baileys and a mince pie, 560. Say on Christmas morning you decide, oh, I'm going to have a croissant and Bucks Fizz, then I'm going to have two glasses of red wine and a Christmas pudding, 819 calories. So you could, for instance, have like one Bailey's and a mince pie. Even that's going to make a difference. Do you have to have the croissant in the morning, knowing that you're going to have like God knows what else in the rest of the day? Just thinking about things like that, or if you're taking it beyond Christmas Day, do you need to be all or nothing the whole rest of that festive period, which is like 3 to 5 days? Because that could end up being 6 pounds gained in one week. Or you could just overindulge a little bit, it'd be 2 pounds, and then you're kind of you're back to it in January. So it's not about thinking if you overindulge once or a couple of times, it's not that it's all ruined. It's actually thinking, let's just do the rest of the time during the days you can eat nutritiously, and not end up 6 pounds, half stone heavier by the end of Christmas. So enjoy yourself. And I always like to think about, don't punish yourself with the excess, because I think sometimes we go into Christmas being like, I'm just going to really reward myself. It's been a really tough week. And the reward we still associate with stuff like chocolate and cakes and biscuits and stuff. Um, uh, but I hope if you're listening to this live or listening to it back, you've started to get the understanding that actually when you're eating that stuff, it doesn't necessarily make you feel that great. So it's not necessarily really rewarding yourself at all. And then socializing is a big one, outside of the home. What can you do? So alcohol tips. So alternate alcoholic drinks with water or soda. I know you've probably heard that one a million times before. Stick to one or two drinks to avoid dehydration. And also, if you're perimenopausal or menopausal, then you know probably just how badly you're going to sleep if you kind of go over that kind of 2 drink rule, or certain drinks. For me, it's Prosecco. I can't go near the stuff. It keeps me awake. I feel terrible the next day. And then when you feel terrible, you're more likely to overindulge and comfort eat the next day as well. So just have a little think about that. And before you go out socializing, make sure you eat. So if it's something that you know is only going to be little nibbles, eat before you go. Because when you are fuller, it's quite hard to drink that much, because you just feel so full that it's quite hard to drink. So really simple things to do. And then obviously thinking about your drinks choices. So I love this one because I quite like champagne. So champagne versus red wine, 95 calories for a flute of champagne versus 190 for red wine. So champagne, Christmas and New Year, it's that time. So you can think about having 2 glasses of champagne compared to 2 glasses of red wine. So that will probably get you through an evening. Margarita versus White Russian, for instance, 185 versus 242. So just thinking before you get there, maybe rather than getting there and then thinking, oh, what should I do? If you have it clear in your head, I'm going to have this or that, then it's much easier for you to take that glass off the off the tray. Or if you're ordering from the bar, not getting to the bar and thinking, oh, I don't know what to have, and then the barman suggesting something, or them having that kind of list of things on the bar, and you think, oh, I'll just have that, and not thinking about it. Go equipped with the knowledge of like champagne, those white spirits, vodka with soda and lime is really low, those kind of things. And then that festive party food, sweet treats and salty snacks. So as I said before, eat before you go. So that when you get there, you're not going to be so starving that you're going to snaffle half the crisps, half the nuts, chop your way through the breadsticks, and and then have a bit of cake. So eat before you go, and then choose a few of your favorites. So maybe your favorites are like your cheeses and your crisps, your cheese and your nuts. So take your 2 favorites and then step away from the table. I would suggest you kind of go right the other side of the room, because actually what often happens if you're by a food snack table, is you get trapped by the food or snap table because everyone's around there. So in the end, you get trapped by it, and then you're drinking, and then it's really easy to just pick without realizing. So choose your two favorites, move away. If you really want more, then go back. But at least you've created that distance, which in itself will make it easier not to just unconsciously reach for stuff. And then a really good one is have your hands full. I know that I've obviously been to quite a lot of press do's where they give you like quite fancy canapes. And what that means is the fancy canapes are so fancy that they're really hard to eat without getting all over the place. So I end up not eating them because I'm trying to have a conversation and you don't want to have like these like, fancy looking things just dropping all over your hands. So, fancy party, maybe that's the way to go. But have your hands full. So think about a glass of water in one hand, a glass of bubbles in the other. Maybe not the whole night, but just from the start, that starting period when maybe you are a bit more hungry and or a bit anxious. If you're a bit nervous in party situations, then actually it can be really tempting to just go to the food or glug back the booze until you get a bit more relaxed. So actually, if you have a glass of water and a glass of bubbles or whatever your drink is in both hands, you can't reach for the food, and then at least you're alternating your water with your alcohol. But mainly, like, don't stress. I have lots of feedback forms from people all the time that I look at, and people stress about the going out bits, and then they neglect to even think about the rest of the time. Actually, it's what you do consistently most of the time that makes the most difference. So, yes, you're going to go to a party. You probably are going to have some parties where you're like, oh God, I didn't half eat some like too many crisps there. It's actually what you do the whole rest of the week that matters. So don't just focus everything on the festive party area, and then the rest of the time everything else goes out the window. Yeah, and that mindset matters. So chill out, don't stress about it. Reframe your expectations. You don't have to be perfect around the festive period. You just need to embrace progression. Embrace the fact that sometimes you are going to fall off the mindset of nourishing nutrition and end up having stuff that's not very nourishing. That is not the end of the world. That does not mean you're a failure. It just means you've been to a party. You're in control. Get back to it after the party. So really get rid of that failure mindset and thinking, I've failed at this before. I can't do it. That's not true. It's just a party. Delegate your tasks. So if you've got kids, grown-up kids, get them to help. You don't have to do it all. You might be the best at cooking. You might be the best at organizing stuff because you always do it. So what? Let someone else do it. Let it not be perfect. Celebrate the small wins. Eating one healthy meal is progress. And think about that reward. I spoke about this before. Reward yourself not with the rubbish food that makes you feel rubbish, but something amazing. So maybe instead of thinking I'm exhausted, I'm going to sit down in front of the TV and have a box of chocolates. Maybe instead think ahead and think, I know by the 24th, 23rd of December, I'm going to feel so exhausted. I'm going to book myself a facial right now for that day. And instead of the kind of rewards that are going to be bombarded on TV with images of like sumptuous chocolate by candlelight, go for a facial instead, or get your nails done, or do something like that you often don't have the time to do. And mainly lose that all in or all out mindset. So thanks for joining me for that. So I hope that has helped you navigate some of that festive period, but mainly just to enjoy it and not to feel like it's all over if you have some crisps and have a mince pie, because it's not. It's everything around the rest of the time that kind of matters.